On this episode of Robe Chats, the podcast.
Yeah, I love the concerts, but I really love the people. Building good is easy, building great is hard. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing now with the people that I'm doing it with.
CEO of 3G Productions, Keith Conrad. Welcome once again to Robe Chats, the podcast. I am your host, Brian Matthews, and we are joined today by Mr. Keith Conrad, CEO of 3G Productions. Keith, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian.
Do you make it down here to Nashville much, or did you come in for the CMA Fest, or what brought you in town from Las Vegas?
Yeah, well, first and foremost to see you. I mean, yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, no, more and more making it to Nashville, right? As we kind of just look a little bit from a growth perspective, and so just had some meetings and whatnot that was going on here, and thought it was nice to stop by and see the team at Robe and see our friends at Mainline too.
Yeah. Well, I was doing my research on you and doing a little background, and you kind of have I guess I would describe it as a sort of non-traditional background before you got into this industry, right? And people are always curious about how to get into this industry. So kind of just walk us back to those early days. We were talking a little bit about it off camera. How did your journey begin, and how did you end up with 3G?
Yeah, definitely unique, right? I was never in a band. I was never a roadie. My career in music ended in 5th grade at drums, and realized that I had no.
Mine ended in 7th grade with trombone. I was like 9th chair in 7th grade trombone class.
I can't sing. Don't ask me to do that. I embarrass my daughters when I sing. So, I kind of fell into it. I started coming out of college. I was a finance major, and I got into investment banking and corporate debt and mezzanine lending. And my mom had a small real estate company, and she kind of had a falling out with her business partner, which was her brother. And she's like, "Hey, do you want to come work for me?" And it wasn't like as much of a choice as it was like, I need you, and so you do the right thing. And I jumped in, and I just learned business, right? I mean, I had a background from college with it, but more than anything, I think you just learn as you go. That's so much more learning on the job than learning, from a textbook. And I was there for 8 years, kind of cut my teeth and learned how to run a small business. And then I went back to business school and tried to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And I knew the owners of 3G. My father-in-law was one of them, and really wanted to get to the West Coast. I was living in Chicago, and said, "Hey, do you want to come and help us? We want to grow the company. We're 6 people, and we want to kind of expand They're just an audio production company at the time. This was 2012, and I said, "Yeah, why not? It sounds fun, kind of interesting industry, right?" I mean, he was doing
rock and roll.
He was doing EDC festival. I was looking, she was showing me videos at a family bar mitzvah, and I was like, "Gee, this is pretty cool, right?" And so I was like, "Why not?" And I really just got in, and I started more in kind of like the controller role and kind of doing, finance stuff. I was doing a little marketing thing, and then kind of helped him start an integration department. And then I just learned, right? I was just in the warehouse, kind of talking to people, understanding. I didn't know what an XLR cable was versus an NL4 cable, right? You just learn all the vernacular of what's going on. And, it's been 13 years now, and kind of worked my way up to where I'm at now. And, I'd say there's so many different aspects of this industry, right? There's not just the people of the people that are roadies and, kind of helping, put on these amazing shows, but there's so much business side of it behind it too. And the industry has evolved so much too, it's a generation old, right? And so, it's become a lot more sophisticated. And so from that business side, I just learned to kind of develop and grow the business. And that's really where my passion is growing businesses and developing people and putting teams together.
Yeah.
And that's really what I've done. And and kind of, it hasn't been a straight line path. There's been some ups and downs along the way, but I always feel like you learn from your failures more than you do from your successes. And you keep working hard, and if you're passionate about something, like, you'll figure out how to succeed in that.
Yeah. So for those of who might be watching and listening, 3G, I've been watching, for a while, and you guys have really grown. What's that sort of growth been like at 3G? Kind of walk us through what when you started in 2012 and to where you guys are today. What's that growth really been like for you guys?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I'll tell you that much. When I came in, it was 6 people, and we had some speakers in Vegas and LA, and we're doing some Latin shows and festivals, and it really, in the mid kind of 2010s, is where we started evolving, and we got into integration, and then ultimately a lot of our lighting and video partners were getting bought by some of these bigger companies, and we started saying, hey, we really should just buy some of this stuff ourselves and do it ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
so we started doing that. We acquired a company in 2017 down in Miami called Beach Sound, and that was kind of our first acquisition and kind of first growth, kind of non-organic, and tried to become more of a national brand. And we were kind of getting comfortable with all of it, and then the pandemic happened, right? And it just
Yeah.
kind of upended everything. And really, we sat down at the pandemic and said, like, what's success going to look like on the other side? What's this industry going to be on the other side? And we really felt that companies need to be full production service and well capitalized. And we were kind of able, we had that full production capability, but we weren't capitalized well enough. And this is kind of where my experience and with finance and whatnot kind of came in, where I was comfortable going out, and we probably talked to 50, 60 people to try to go raise capital, right? And say, how do we find the right partner, right? Whether it's strategic, it's a family offices, it's professional money, whatever. And so we went through that whole process, and ultimately found a partner that wanted to invest in us, and they kind of backed me to become the CEO at that time, and get back to our roots of saying, we closed Miami, we got back to just being full service production in Vegas and LA, brought all the gear back, and got out of some of our ancillary businesses. We had a labor
Yeah.
business at the time, and just like get back to our core, what we're really good at. Um, and the fun part about it since that has been like building the team. Honestly, that's I mentioned earlier, my passion. Like, we were 6 people when we were going through the pandemic. We went down from 70 down to 6, and now we're back up to about 90.
Oh,
And
wow.
so that growth has been just great, and it's about building the team through good character, right, and the values of the company. I kind of have a no a-hole policy. Sounds pretty basic, but check your ego at the door. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a big ego, and neither do my partners. And like, if you have good people, and all kind of committed to the cause, you could kind of do anything. And yeah, so we've we've had a couple iterations of capital backing since that deal got done in October of 21. Um, Kind of scaled the company in 22 and 23 when the industry was really booming and things were going great. And then we brought in professional money last year in the fall of 24,
Yeah.
through a private equity company called Chimney Rock. And they had some experience in the industry previously. And our current partner stayed on, which was great, who was kind of our industry expert. And so now I have this great board of industry experts and professional investors that are a great sounding board for me, but they let us kind of run the business, and they invested in 3G to be the platform.
Yeah.
And so the goal now is to scale through acquisitions and organic growth. In 6 months since they've bought us, we've made one acquisition. Our goal is to have a second acquisition done here in the next month or two, which will be exciting to announce.
Yeah.
And we've hired some new salespeople as well too. So yeah, it's been a ton of fun. Just kind of just growing and scaling the business, and I think our goal is that we want to be a national full service production company that is focused on touring, corporate TV film type of work, And about 25% is integration, and so box sales, integration, that type of stuff. And
Mm.
so I think it's a good mix, and it's really relationship driven. And then the other part of the business that we're about to launch is our own website to sell used gear.
Oh, okay.
It's actually called usegear.com. So that's my first announcement to it. It's actually going to be launched. Here we go, live on the Robe podcast. I'm announcing for the first time. So yeah, super excited. So it's been a lot of fun, and I think the challenge is how as you scale, you keep the quality of your service the same,
Yeah.
and really it's about the people. I always tell my team, like, a monkey with a checkbook can buy gear. The gear is, we all have access to the same gear, and but it's like the level of service that you provide, right? And we really try to keep our quality of our service high,
Yeah.
and we have a lot of long term relationships as a result of it.
Yeah, you were talking about that with me off camera before we started rolling, and you were talking about that it is a service industry, and you want to stay focused on that. Just kind of talk a little bit more about that philosophy that you have at 3G about providing that those relationships and that service.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the big part about it is you're not trying to, every single piece of business you do is not like you're trying to hit a home run, right? In terms of profitability, sometimes it's about the level of service that, hey, the client doesn't have as much money this time, but you got to take care of them and stay consistent and grow with them, right?
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of those type of clients through the years that they're not contract based; they're just really like, you know handshake deal, so to speak, but focus on, hey, like, we're gonna make sure that you're successful with your event, and in turn we'll be successful, right? And I think if you treat people the way you want to be treated, like, that will happen naturally, and so it's the little things, right? It's like on the integration side, we try to be no change orders, right? Like, hey, we're gonna bid a job, that's what it's going to be. If you
Yeah.
tell me you wanted, 32 fortes, now you want 100 fortes, like, that's a change, right? But if it's like, hey, we misbid certain aspects of, the cable runs, or the labor took a little bit longer, like, we try not to go back and nickel and dime our clients.
Yeah.
Hey, this is the price. It is what it is. We're not kind of, hey, our guys were longer. They're longer than we expected. We're going to come back and charge overtime. No, we'll take care of you this time, let you know. And just, it's about a partnership.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different avenues that people can go down in this industry. As far as being a part of the live production crew and team that goes out, and but there's also the side that is the gear provider and the tour providers and stuff like that. So for those who might be kind of just wondering about different types of the industry, what's the biggest challenge with being a gear provider, with being a service provider? What's the daily life like on that side, and what are the biggest challenges with running that type of company?
I would say the biggest challenge is just your ability to be able to react quickly. You're being a service provider. The gear is, can be challenging to move around logistically when we
Yeah.
have, 3 offices, actually 4 offices right now. We got 2 offices in LA, and being able to manage all of those different parts of it. And then I would say the other aspect is just the push and pull between sales and operations. A salesperson wants to sell anything. I don't care. My client needs it. We're going to sell it, right? And then, the operational side of, like, we can't do that. We don't have time. We got to turn the gear from the last time. There's
Yeah.
not enough time, and so there's this constant kind of push and pull on that side of it. And then
There's the dream and then the reality that they kind of gotta.
exactly, right. And there's something in between, right? So I'm playing traffic cop a lot of the times, and trying to, just get people in the room together and say, let's just talk through it, right? And that's, a little bit about, that no a-hole policy, is that if you have good people that are all kind of for the cause, you'll be successful. Because I think thing that people have to remember is, like, as you're building a company, like, collision's okay. Like, building good is easy, building hard or building great is hard, right? And so, like, I always tell my team, we're building we're trying to build a great company. That's hard. You're going to have collisions. You're going to have disagreements. You're going to have struggles in doing it, right? And so
Yeah.
we have to work as a team to get through those. And it's always, hey, we don't have enough gear, right? Hey, do we buy this, right? And you only have so much capex. So how do you manage what you cross rent? And you're cross renting from your competitors in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
at times. And then, what are the things that, hey, this makes sense to go and buy, and there's a proper ROI on it. And so I think having the background that I do more from a business side and not as much on the creative side kind of gives me a little bit of an advantage because I don't take anything emotional, right? I never get into the, oh, I want to work for that artist. That's the most important aspect of it. Everybody likes working for cool artists. It's fun, right? It's sexy what we get to do, but you can't let that cloud your judgment of, well, I'm going to go make an investment that doesn't financially make sense for the company
Yeah.
because I wanted to be associated with this artist.
Mm.
And so you're dealing with a lot of creative people, right? And so that becomes a challenge sometimes because they see it in their own view, right?
Yes, they do.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, they do. When you're out there and you're evaluating that gear of what you want to bring in house, and again, you don't have to talk about manufacturing or anything like that, but just overall concept wise, how do you go about evaluating what it is you're going to bring into 3G to provide for your clients as far as technology wise and stuff like that?
um, like if you're providing a high quality service, you got to stay on the cutting edge of technology. And so I truly believe in, the gear cycling, making sure that you don't hold on to gear too long and you're willing to sell it off, which
Yeah.
is a very hard thing for production companies to do because a lot of times you could run that speaker or that light into the ground and then throw it in the dumpster. But I think recapturing residual value is super important. And so I try to buy gear that holds on to its value. And that's so we're buying the highest quality of manufacturers, right? Whether that's moving lights or that's speakers or that's LED panels,
Yeah.
right? You can find quality from top to bottom, right? And so we try to stay at that top echelon because we know we're going to turn around at some point and recycle that gear and then buy into that new technology that vendor or that manufacturer is creating. So that's the biggest aspect that I'm looking at. And then the other part is just we used to be really audio heavy, right? And so getting into the fact of trying to become more even across it. And I would say from the time of the pandemic until now, we were more 60% audio, and then kind of the rest was all kind of a combination of video, lighting, and rigging. It's now probably 30 audio, video, lighting, and then 10% of it's rigging. So having that even amount, and
Yeah.
and you try to buy those things too that are like middle of the fairway type of stuff, right? That's going to work on the 80/20 rule, right? Like 80% of the time this will work. And the specialty things, you have to be smart in what you buy, because then you can get stuck with something, and you don't just go buy that for one show. That's where you go cross rent. Now you got a
Yeah.
tour, it's going out for a long period of time, they want a specialty light. Okay, we'll do that, but to make sure that it has some residual value that you could turn around and sell it afterwards.
Another thing we like to talk to people about is we kind of like to give our viewers and our listeners a little behind the scenes look at the person that we're talking to.
Sure.
So, people know you professionally, right? They've worked with you on 3G or their tour or whatnot, but what's that life like for Keith when he walks away from 3G? What do you like to do to kind of recharge the batteries or blow off steam or
Yeah.
just relax?
Yeah.
What's that like for Keith Conrad?
Yeah, it doesn't happen as often as I'd like it to, but so I'm a girl dad. I got three girls. 3G's kind of the genesis of that. My father-in-law had three daughters. I married the oldest G. All right, so I was and so then I had three daughters. Right, so I have a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old. So
Free
two of them.
time is not a
Yeah.
luxury you often have.
No, no. And so a lot of dance competitions. My two youngest dance competitively, so I'm doing that. Just like I like to golf. I was, besides spending time with the family, just spend time with my wife. I enjoy going to concerts and try to just, not necessarily, from a work perspective, but hey, just go and blend in the crowd and hang out. I do love live music. Um,
Are you able to go? Because so many people talk about this. Are you able to go to a show and not look at the rig? Are you able to go and just kind of immerse yourself in the artist, or are you there scanning truss, looking at side fills?
Uh,
Watching lasers, seeing what the confetti cannons are.
it's impossible not to, right? I mean, but I still have an ability to be able to enjoy it, right? You get there, you kind of see everything, you look at it, and then you try to kind of have a drink, immerse yourself, relax a little bit, right? But it's also kind of good market research as well too, and
Yeah.
try to find that balance, right? But yeah, I mean, I think we're blessed that we get to do stuff that is so cool, you know what I mean? And it's I always tell people, like, if you're going to be in this industry, be passionate about it. If you are in this industry because you're a star effort, right? And you're like, I really want to, what's really cool, I want to see free concerts or whatever, like, you'll die in this industry. You'll last a week and you'll be out, because everybody that's in this industry, I don't care whether you're on the manufacturer side, you're a tour guy, or you're working for a production company, like, you're grinding.
Yeah.
It's a hard business. It's a working business, and you got to love it. You got to have passion about it, right? And my passion, yeah, I love the concerts, but I really love the people. Honestly, at the end of the day, what makes me the most, like, gives me the most satisfaction is watching people grow and develop in our company, and that, we're renting an apartment and now they're owning a house with their family, or they were single, and next thing you know, they came off the road, they got married, they had kids, whatever. Like, we have a lot of employees that have been with us a long time, and like, that gives me a lot of joy and satisfaction.
Yeah. Is it sort of that family sort of environment that you try to create there at 3G? I know your father-in-law, brought you on it. Are you trying to kind of create
Yeah,
that sort of family environment
you
that
know
people feel comfortable in?
look, I think, culture is super important in a company, right? And I
Yeah.
think that family business is kind of it's a unique term, right? I think you could have that family feel to a business, but you have to run a business to make money. At the end of the day, like, we all want to do well, and you have to make sure that you have good kind of process, procedures, those type of things in place, so that you can give people raises, you can take care of them and whatever, right? And so um, I think the one thing that we've tried to evolve as we've kind of had professional money is that you don't change the culture, right? You don't change how you feel about people. If somebody gets sick, how you take care of them, what you do for these people, and how you care for these people. But at the end of the day, when people walk in, there's no sacred cows. There's no kind of, just a nepotism. Like, it's a pure, hey, if you're good, you got room to grow. It's a meritocracy, right?
Yeah.
And so I think we've created a really great environment from that perspective. That, yeah, it's a fun place to work. We have very little turnover and all that, but at the same time, like, we're there to work. We're there to create. We say we create lasting experiences. That's what we're doing, right? And so that's been an evolution a little bit of the company, right? Sometimes when you have a family company, they think about, like, hey, well, how's the family living off of it?
Yeah.
Like, you can never, from a family perspective, take advantage of the company and suck the company dry, because that's not good for the company, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel really good about the culture that we've created, and it's one of, like, caring, and like, but there also is a part of it of, like, it's you got to come in, you got to work, right? And but I think when you do that, and everybody's kind of committed that, and they understand that, and you hire based on those values that you have in the company,
Hmm.
resiliency, good people, we're only as good as our last show, like, and you tell these people at the beginning coming in, like, I think that's the biggest thing I look for in an interview, is not what is your technical skill, because you probably aren't sitting in front of me if you don't have that technical skill to do it,
Right.
but is there that fit going
That
into it?
gets you in the door, but
But that's
that's as
not
far
good.
as
That's not
it'll
going to
get
get
you.
you the job,
Yeah.
right? And I think, look, I've learned through mistakes. I've learned through, there's nothing worse than, having somebody on your team that you see when the phone rings, and you're like, I can't pick that call up. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to ruin my day,
I
right?
think we've all been there,
Yeah.
Keith.
But and the fun of being the leader is that I've gotten to build that, and put that in, and I can truly say that anybody on my team that's calling me, I want to pick up the phone. I want to talk to them.
I like that you said that's the fun of being the leader, because while I've never been a CEO, I assume that there's pressure. Like, in your own head, like in those quiet times when you're alone or at night, or if, it's been a really rough day. You mentioned you really enjoy the fact that you get to watch your team members grow and go from, I was in my apartment and now my family and I just bought a home, but, COVID hits and now work has stopped. And I assume that because you seem very passionate as a leader, I assume that there's also a lot of internal pressure that comes with that as well. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I always tell people it's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
And I one of the things I've done is I'm involved in an organization called Young Presidents Organization. It's an international organization with local chapters, and it's people that are entrepreneurs. You have to have either you're a president or CEO or managing director or something like that, right? And once you're in the group, you have something called a forum, which is a group of like 6 to 8 people that meet every month, and it's kind of like your own personal board of directors, and you talk about family, personal, and work. And you kind of like, one of the biggest things about it is like, no, everything is like you can't share anything, right? Everything is completely confidential
Yeah.
that's in there. And that's been really great for me, is that if I'm struggling with something or whatever, and it's not like it's a no advice type of thing, it's more of like shared experiences. So hey, I'm going through this, and then somebody would say, well, that reminds me when I went through this, and this is how I handled it, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, you should never stop, like, learning and developing as a leader, right? And just as a professional, right? It's not like you go to college and then that's it, and I'm done learning and whatever. So that's one aspect, and that's kind of helped me grow, because I've before I became the CEO of 3G, like, I never been the CEO of anything, right? And so, when I went to this investors and I was trying to pitch the idea of like kind of investing in me, it's like I had to believe in believe myself before anybody else believed in me. And
Yeah.
so like there's a little bit of fake it before you make it. And so like I was reading a book the other day, and I'm going to draw a blank on what it is, but they said never underestimate the man that overestimates himself. And it's one of those things, like, you have to believe in yourself first, but that doesn't come easy because we all have imposter syndromes, and I definitely have an imposter syndrome. But being able to have a group of people that you sit around and you talk to every month that are in that same situation,
Yeah.
and running all these major companies that people look at and go, wow, that's it. But everybody has it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody is like just
Is it
100%.
eye opening when you're in those groups and
Oh,
you're talking to, you're like, I would never expected you to have that
yeah.
sort of feeling.
Yeah, like, never have that insecurity or whatever, right? And so, it helps, right? Because it's then you're amongst peers, you're amongst people that don't want anything from you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the one challenge sometimes as leaders. You gotta you got to always take things with somewhat of a grain of salt, because people are always trying to, hey, well, you're the CEO. I'm going to talk to you in a certain manner, right? No matter how much you say, hey, let's talk, I always have an open door policy, come talk to me, share anything with me, but I know the reality of that situation as well too. There's certain, lines that people draw, right?
Right.
And then being able to kind of like navigate back home, right? And like, my therapist was telling me like, stop CEOing at home, right? Like, you have to find that difference, right? And that balance of like, that you walk out of that role and be able to like
I
recognize
assume
it's a
three
different life.
daughters humble you quickly when you get home.
Very quickly, I am at the bottom of the totem pole. 3 daughters and a wife, and yes, I'm at the bottom, but I have male dogs, so that's good.
You have some support.
Yeah, exactly. They're my buddies.
Well, what is it about this industry? I mean, you've been in it now for a while, and you seem very passionate about it, of continuing to grow 3G. What is it about this industry that you love? What is it that keeps you passionate about coming into work every day?
Look, it's awesome when you go to an event and you see kind of what you created, right? And it's that the goosebumps that you get when the speakers get turned on, the lights get turned on, and you're doing a stadium show or something of that nature. Like, that's super cool, right? But I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, what's really kept me going is the people that work for me and work with me, and my partners. And it that's what drives me every day is to kind of get up and like, do it for them, right? And like, we talked a little bit about COVID and everything that everybody had to go through,
Yeah.
and kind of had to lay some people off or put them on furlough and whatever, and how hard that was. And you could never show that as a leader because that's, you got to kind of, show that outer shell, and kind of protect that inner emotion going through it, because you're putting somebody and their family then on the sidelines for a period of time, not knowing what the future is. And so whenever I think about the challenges that we run into of, kind of these push and pulls between ops and sales, or a challenging show to get out of, or just those days that you want to pull your hair out that we all have, like I always go back to those COVID days and think about like, I'd much rather have this problem than that problem, and we'll work through it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's humbled me in a lot of ways. And so that humility as you walk through, really matters as a leader. And then it's just like what's cool is like, like 3G, like my father-in-law started it. He's not involved anymore, but like there's just an enormous amount of passion that I have and my partners have for it, because the company's been through a lot of ups and downs, right? And so like I always tell people, like I call it the J curve. Like you got to kind of get down in the muck before you can kind of really experience the quality and appreciate it. And business will humble you, right? When young early entrepreneurs like get this Midas touch, I always feel like, and it's like, hey, I had some early success, everything I do is great, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they get to a point and like they fail, because everybody fails. I don't care who it is, right? And I'd rather have my failures earlier in my career and learn from them and be humbled, and kind of, as you go through, recognize that it isn't all you. Sometimes it's the right person, the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's just what business is, like sometimes is it luck or is it skill? Like it's a little bit of both. It just is like things sometimes just kind of work out, and you have to realize and be humble enough to know that like it isn't all you.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned humility a couple of times, and I'm just kind of curious to know this question is, do you value that, just generally speaking, do you value humility as a necessary quality to be a good leader? Or what
Yeah.
would you say are the necessary qualities to be a good leader?
No, I think humility is important. I mean, you see a lot of leaders that aren't humble, right? I think that usually is more an overcompensation of insecurity. But yes, like I said, around my CEO group, and I talk to people, and like almost every single one is humble. But you also do need a little bit of an ego, right? Because you don't get here if you don't have it, right? Like you got to
Right.
believe in yourself. Like humility, yes, but then confidence is another thing. And so like even if you haven't done it, you got to somewhat believe in yourself that you can do it. And I think openness is super important. I mean, you gotta be. I always tell my team, like, I'm gonna tell you the direction that we're going. Maybe the right direction and maybe the wrong direction, but it's gonna be the direction that we're all rowing in. And then when we need to pivot, we could pivot a lot easier. And so I've always been very open with my team about, what are we trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So just kind of putting your forward thinking cap on, what you mentioned, the acquisitions that are coming, but long term, where do you want 3G to go? How big do you want to make this?
Yeah, I don't know. That's $1 million question. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing now with the people that I'm doing it with, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're well structured. We have the right capital structure behind us. We're a really strong team. You know, Goal is to make 3G, the best production company nationally in the US. And that doesn't mean it has to be the biggest company, but it has to be the best, right? And
Yeah.
I think if you're not striving for that, then you're accepting mediocrity, And mean that I'm going to step on anybody on the way there? No, like I think that there's plenty of business to go around in this industry, but focus on quality, be smart in the kind of moves that you make, and you're not going to make all the right moves. It's impossible, but grow it and have a nice national footprint. Continue to be focused on full service production and diversify my end client base. We've done a lot of touring and festival, but continue to grow the corporate TV and film market, and continue to grow our integration division along the way.
Yeah.
And there's not a number, there's not a size, or any of that stuff. It's just to continue to be a high quality company that's well respected in the industry, and continue to be able to support our clients the right way.
Well, I think you're well on that way. So I'm excited to see how you guys can continue to grow.
Thank you.
As I was putting your forward thinking cap on there, I'm gonna have you put on your backwards cap now. And if you could, understanding where you are now and everything that you've gone through, if you could go back and talk to that young Keith, that young kid in the 5th grade who was flailing at the drums and understanding what he was going to go through, what would be that $1 million advice you would give him? What would be that gold nugget that you would hand him and say, here you go?
Believe in yourself. It's okay if the path is not a straight one, and don't compare yourself to others. I think as you walk through and you're building, people's success, it's a long game, and some people experience it early, some people experience it late. But don't compare yourself. Just believe in what you're doing, and don't have regrets. Move forward, and own the decisions that you make. It's nobody else's fault. Nobody else is forcing you to do anything. You make your own decisions, and then live by that, and continue to work hard, and success will find you.
Nice. Well, Keith, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. Remember, you can find our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also watch this on YouTube. We sign off today the way we always do. May the light always shine your way. You can make it the Robe way. Have a good day.